Titulo, single dad's daughter, cried, "Daddy, I'm hungry," until the young CEO shocked everyone. Before we dive in, let's light up this comment section with hearts from every corner of the world. Victoria Hayes adjusted her Cartier watch as she walked through the grand lobby of the Grandeur Hotel in downtown Chicago. At 27, she owned 12 luxury hotels across America, each one a testament to the empire she'd built from nothing. Her Louboutin heels clicked against the marble floor with the confidence of someone who'd fought for every inch of her success. Tonight's inspection was routine, just another property to evaluate before the investors' meeting tomorrow morning. The September evening cast long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Victoria preferred these late-night walkthroughs when the guests were at dinner and the staff worked without the pressure of her presence. She noticed everything: a scuff mark on the baseboard, a crooked picture frame, a lobby plant that needed replacing. Details mattered. Details separated success from mediocrity. She was making notes on her phone when she heard it. A small voice, trembling and desperate, cutting through the sophisticated ambience like a knife. "Daddy, my tummy hurts so much. I'm so hungry." Victoria stopped mid-step. The voice came from near the elevator corridor where the marble transitioned to the service hallway. She shouldn't go there. She had managers for this. But something in that child's voice, something raw and heartbreaking, pulled her forward. What she saw made her freeze. A man knelt on the floor, maybe 32 or 33, wearing the hotel's janitor uniform. His hands gripped a mop handle like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Tears streamed down his weathered face, dripping onto the freshly cleaned tiles. Beside him stood a tiny girl, no more than 5 years old, with enormous brown eyes that seemed too large for her small, pale face. Her pink dress was clean but worn, carefully mended at the hem. She clutched a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. "Emma, baby, I'm so sorry," the man whispered, his voice breaking. "Daddy doesn't have anything right now. Not until Friday. I'm so sorry." The little girl touched her father's shoulder with a gentleness that seemed beyond her years. "It's okay, Daddy. I can wait. Don't cry." But her own tears betrayed her words, sliding down her hollow cheeks. Victoria felt something crack inside her chest. She'd seen poverty before, she'd lived it, but there was something about this scene, about the dignity in that man's grief and the impossible bravery of that hungry child, that transported her back 20 years, back to her own mother's tears, back to her own empty stomach. Her feet moved before her brain caught up. "Excuse me," Victoria said softly. The man's head snapped up. His eyes widened in horror as he recognized her, scrambling to his feet. "Ms. Hayes, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were here. I'll move. I'm so sorry. Please, don't apologize." Victoria's voice was gentler than she'd heard it in years. She looked at the little girl, who stared back with those impossibly wise eyes. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emma." The girl's voice was barely a whisper. "Emma Parker. I'm 5 years old." "It's a beautiful name." Victoria reached into her purse, but her hand hesitated. Money wasn't what this child needed right now. Money was cold. Money was what everyone expected from Victoria Hayes. She looked at the girl's pale face, at the way she swayed slightly on her feet. How long had she gone without eating? Victoria's mind raced through logistics. The hotel restaurant was closed for renovation. The staff cafeteria was locked. Room service would take 30 minutes minimum, and this child needed food now. Then Victoria remembered this morning's breakfast meeting. She'd barely touched the breadbasket, and out of habit born from childhood hunger, she'd wrapped 2 pieces in a napkin and put them in her bag. Her therapist said it was a trauma response. Victoria called it being prepared. She pulled out the napkin, unfolding it to reveal 2 pieces of artisan sourdough bread. The little girl's eyes went wide. "Emma," Victoria said, kneeling down to the child's level, her $3,000 suit touching the floor without hesitation. "I was saving this for later, but I think you need it more than I do. Would you like it?" The transformation on Emma's face was instantaneous. Joy flooded those brown eyes, followed immediately by something else. The child looked at her father, asking permission with just a glance. The man, Marcus Parker, stood frozen. Victoria could see the war happening behind his eyes. Pride versus necessity, shame versus his daughter's welfare. His throat worked as he swallowed hard. "Emma needs to eat," Victoria said quietly, speaking to Marcus but still holding the bread out to Emma. "Please, I remember what it feels like." Something in her tone, in those last words, broke through Marcus's resistance. He nodded just once, and Emma's small hands reached out, trembling. "Thank you," Emma whispered, her voice filled with such profound gratitude that several people in the lobby turned to look. "Thank you so much, pretty lady." The child didn't devour the bread like Victoria expected. Instead, she broke off a small piece, chewed it carefully, savoring every bite. Then she broke off another small piece and held it up to her father. "Daddy, you eat too. You haven't eaten either." Marcus shook his head, tears flowing freely now. "No, baby. That's yours. Daddy's fine. Please, Daddy. Half for you, half for me. We share. That's what Mommy always said. We share." The mention of the mother sent a visible shudder through Marcus. Victoria noticed the absence of a wedding ring, but the tan line showed one had been there recently. Very recently. "Your wife?" Victoria asked softly, not sure if she was overstepping. Marcus's face crumpled. "She passed 3 months ago. Cancer, the medical bills." He couldn't finish the sentence. Everything clicked into place for Victoria. The financial devastation, the desperate circumstances, the man's obvious education and articulation despite working as a janitor. This wasn't a man who'd always been poor. This was a man who'd been broken by circumstance. Emma continued sharing the bread with her father, each taking turns with small, careful bites. The lobby had gone quiet. Victoria noticed her night manager, Robert, watching from the reception desk, his face pale. Several guests had paused their conversations. Everyone was witnessing something that felt sacred. When the bread was gone, Emma folded the napkin carefully and handed it back to Victoria. "Thank you so much. That was the best bread I ever had." Victoria's throat tightened. She'd eaten at Michelin-starred restaurants around the world, and this child thought hotel breakfast bread was the best thing she'd ever tasted. Because it had ended her hunger, because someone had shown her kindness. "Emma," Victoria said, an idea forming, "do you like chocolate milk?" The girl's eyes grew impossibly wider. "I love chocolate milk, but we can't afford—" "I own this hotel," Victoria interrupted gently, "and I think I have some chocolate milk in my office refrigerator. Would you and your daddy like to come with me?" Marcus stiffened. "Miss Hayes, I appreciate what you've done, but I can't accept charity. I work here. I earn my keep. Mr. Parker," Victoria stood, her CEO voice returning. "I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a conversation. My office, 5 minutes. And yes, there will be chocolate milk for Emma because I'm not a monster." Something in her tone brooked no argument. Marcus nodded slowly. As they walked through the lobby toward the executive elevator, Victoria felt eyes on them everywhere. She knew how this looked. The billionaire CEO, the janitor, and the hungry child. By morning, every employee in the hotel would know this story. She didn't care. In the elevator, Emma swayed slightly, and Victoria reached out to steady her. The child's skin was cold to the touch. Marcus caught Victoria's concerned look. "She hasn't eaten since yesterday morning," he admitted, his voice hollow. "I gave her my lunch. Told her I'd already eaten. The paycheck got delayed because of a system error. Should have been Friday, now it's Monday. I had exactly $3. I was going to buy her something from the vending machine after my shift, but—" He stopped, his jaw clenching. "But what?" Victoria asked. "The machine ate my money, all $3, took the bills, and gave me nothing." The elevator doors opened to the executive floor. Victoria's office was a study in minimalist luxury, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago skyline, a desk made from reclaimed wood, leather furniture that cost more than most people's cars, but she kept it comfortable too. There was a reading nook, a small refrigerator, a coffee station. Emma's eyes went wide. "Daddy, it's like a princess castle." Marcus's discomfort was palpable. He didn't belong here, and he knew it. Victoria could see him calculating how to escape, how to preserve his dignity. "Please sit," Victoria said, gesturing to the comfortable couch. She went to the refrigerator and pulled out a carton of chocolate milk and some cheese and crackers she kept for long nights. "Emma, this is for you. Eat slowly, okay? Your stomach needs time to adjust." While Emma ate, Victoria sat across from Marcus. "Tell me your story, all of it." Marcus's hands clenched into fists on his knees. "Why? So you can feel better about yourself? So you can tell your rich friends about the poor janitor you helped?" The bitterness in his voice was understandable, but it still stung. Victoria had spent years clawing her way up from poverty, and she'd faced that same accusation countless times. People who'd never been hungry assumed generosity was always performative. "No," Victoria said calmly, "because I was Emma 20 years ago. Because my mother was you. Because I remember what it feels like when someone finally sees you as human instead of invisible. So please, Mr. Parker, tell me your story, not for my entertainment, because I might actually be able to help." The sincerity in her voice must have gotten through, because Marcus's shoulders sagged. And then, slowly, he began to talk. His wife, Rachel, had been a teacher. They'd met in college, married young, built a good life. Emma came along 5 years ago, perfect and healthy. They'd bought a small house in the suburbs, nothing fancy but theirs. Life was normal, happy. Then Rachel got sick, breast cancer, stage 3. The treatment was aggressive. It worked at first, then it didn't. The medical bills piled up despite insurance. They sold the house, sold the car, moved to a tiny apartment. Marcus lost his job as an accountant because he kept missing work to care for Rachel. Rachel died 3 months ago. Marcus's voice remained steady as he told the story, but Victoria could hear the fractures underneath. This was a man holding himself together with pure will because he had a daughter who needed him. "I've been applying for accounting positions," Marcus continued, "but the gap in my resume raises questions. I tell them the truth, and they look at me with pity but don't call back. The hotel was the only place that hired me immediately. It pays the rent. Barely. Emma's in kindergarten during the day. I work the evening shift so I can pick her up from school. We're making it work." "Until the paycheck got delayed," Victoria said quietly. "Until the paycheck got delayed," Marcus echoed. "And we ran out of food, and I had to watch my daughter go hungry because I couldn't provide for her." His voice finally broke. "I'm her father. I'm supposed to protect her, and I can't even give her dinner." Emma had finished the crackers and was falling asleep on the couch, her head resting against her father's side, the stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. In sleep, her face looked even more fragile, the bones too prominent. Victoria made a decision. "Mr. Parker, I have a proposition for you. My company needs a corporate accountant. The current one is retiring at the end of the month. The position pays $85,000 a year, plus benefits, including health insurance and housing assistance. I'd like to offer you the job." Marcus stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. "What? You're a qualified accountant. I need one. This seems logical. You don't know anything about my work. I could be terrible at my job." Victoria pulled out her phone and opened an email. "Robert, my night manager, sent me this 15 minutes ago. Apparently, you've been fixing calculation errors in the hotel's inventory system for the past 2 weeks, on your own time. Errors that were costing us thousands in waste. You didn't ask for recognition or payment. You just fixed them because they were wrong and you couldn't stand it." Marcus's face flushed. They were obvious mistakes. Anyone would have." "No, Mr. Parker, anyone wouldn't have. Most people would have minded their own business. You saw a problem and fixed it because you're constitutionally incapable of letting numbers be wrong. That's exactly the kind of person I need managing my company's finances." "I don't understand," Marcus said slowly. "Why are you doing this? We're strangers. You don't owe me anything." Victoria looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully now, her tiny hand curled around her father's. She remembered being that small. She remembered her own father leaving when she was Emma's age. She remembered her mother working 3 jobs and still sometimes choosing between rent and food. She remembered the kindness of a restaurant owner named Mr. Chen, who'd given her mother a job and dignity when no one else would. "Someone helped me once," Victoria said softly, "when I was Emma's age, hungry and scared. A restaurant owner who saw my mother as more than just another desperate woman. He gave her a job, taught her the business, believed in her potential. When he died, he left the restaurant to my mother in his will. She sold it and used the money to send me to college. I built my empire from that gift, from that kindness." She met Marcus's eyes. "I'm not doing this out of pity, Mr. Parker. I'm doing this because I recognize potential when I see it, because I believe in second chances, and because that little girl deserves a father who isn't breaking himself just to survive." Marcus was crying openly now, his whole body shaking with silent sobs. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Start Monday. We'll advance you your first month's salary tonight so you can buy groceries. There's an apartment building I own 2 blocks from here. The penthouse unit just opened up. It's yours, rent-free for the first year while you get back on your feet." "I can't accept that. It's too much." "Then pay it forward someday," Victoria said firmly. "When you're stable and successful again, help someone else who's drowning. That's all I ask." Marcus looked at his sleeping daughter, at the stuffed rabbit she held, at the empty plate that had held cheese and crackers. Victoria could see him fighting his pride, fighting the shame of accepting help, fighting everything he'd been taught about being a self-sufficient man. Then Emma murmured in her sleep, "Thank you, pretty lady. The bread was so good." And Marcus's resistance crumbled. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, thank you. God, thank you so much." Victoria smiled, feeling something warm unfold in her chest, something she hadn't felt in years, purpose beyond profit, connection beyond business, the satisfaction of using her power for something that actually mattered. But as she watched Marcus hold his sleeping daughter, as she saw the relief washing over his face, Victoria had no idea that this moment, this choice, would change everything. That Emma Parker was not just any ordinary 5-year-old, that the connection she felt to this child went deeper than memory or empathy. She didn't know that in 6 months a discovery would surface that would shake all 3 of their lives to the core. A discovery about Emma's past, about Victoria's past, about a truth that had been hidden for 5 years, waiting for exactly this moment to reveal itself. For now, though, she simply helped Marcus carry his sleeping daughter to his car, arranged for the advance payment, and gave him the keys to his new apartment. For now, a hungry child had been fed, a desperate father had been given hope, and a billionaire CEO had remembered what it felt like to be human. But the story was only beginning. And the truth, when it came, would change everything they thought they knew about fate, family, and the impossible ways the universe brings people together. Marcus Parker stood in the doorway of his new apartment, unable to move. Emma clung to his hand, her eyes wide with wonder as she took in the spacious living room with its hardwood floors and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. The furniture was elegant but comfortable. The kitchen gleamed with stainless steel appliances, and there were 2 bedrooms, each larger than their entire previous apartment. "Daddy, is this really ours?" Emma whispered, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the dream. Marcus couldn't answer. His throat was too tight. 24 hours ago he'd been crying on a hotel floor, unable to feed his daughter. Now they stood in luxury he couldn't have imagined affording. Victoria Hayes had arranged everything, the apartment, the advance on his salary, even a grocery delivery that had arrived an hour ago, filling the refrigerator and pantry with food. It was too much. It was everything, and Marcus didn't know if he should feel grateful or terrified. "Can I explore?" Emma asked, her natural childhood curiosity breaking through her usual careful reserve. "Go ahead, baby," Marcus managed. "Just be careful." Emma took off running. her feet padding softly on the hardwood, the stuffed rabbit bouncing in her arms. Marcus heard her gasp of delight when she discovered the second bedroom, already furnished with a child's bed, a bookshelf, and toys still in their packages. Marcus walked to the window, pressing his forehead against the cool glass. The Chicago skyline glittered before him, beautiful and indifferent. Somewhere in one of those towers, Victoria Hayes was probably working late into the night, running her empire, making decisions that affected hundreds of lives. Why had she chosen them? Why had she cared? His phone buzzed. A text from his sister in California. "Marcus, I got your message. I'm so proud of you. New job, new apartment. I told you things would turn around. Rachel would be so happy." Rachel, God, he missed her. She'd been gone 3 months, but sometimes Marcus would turn to tell her something, forgetting for just a moment that she wasn't there anymore. Emma did it too, calling for Mommy in the night, then crying when she remembered. The grief was a physical presence in his chest, heavy and cold. Rachel had been his best friend, his partner, the love of his life. Watching cancer eat away at her, watching her fight and hope and eventually accept, had been the hardest thing Marcus had ever experienced. And through it all, Emma had been so brave, so impossibly brave. "Daddy! Daddy, come see!" Emma's voice pulled him from his dark thoughts. Marcus found her in her new bedroom, sitting on the bed with tears streaming down her face. For a moment, panic seized him, but then he saw what she was holding, a framed photograph of Rachel. "How did the pretty lady know about Mommy?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. Marcus took the frame with shaking hands. It was a picture from Emma's 4th birthday party, just 3 months before Rachel's diagnosis. Rachel was laughing, holding Emma, both of them wearing matching party hats. Marcus had posted it on his public social media a year ago, during one of Rachel's better days, wanting to remember her healthy and happy. Victoria must have done research, must have found his social media, must have had this photo printed and framed and placed here, knowing Emma would find it. The gesture was so thoughtful, so impossibly kind, that Marcus felt his carefully constructed composure begin to crack. He'd been holding everything together for Emma, being strong, being stable, but this understanding of what they'd lost, this acknowledgement that Rachel mattered and should be remembered, broke through all his defenses. He sat on the bed next to Emma and pulled her close, and for the first time since the funeral, Marcus let himself really cry. Not the silent tears he'd shed while cleaning hotel floors, not the choked sobs in the shower where Emma wouldn't hear. He cried like a man who'd been drowning and had finally broken the surface. Emma held him, patting his back gently. "It's okay to be sad, Daddy. Mommy told me that. She said being sad means we loved her very much." "We did love her," Marcus whispered. "We still do. We always will. And now the pretty lady is helping us," Emma said softly. "I think Mommy sent her like an angel." Marcus wanted to believe that. He wanted to believe Rachel was somehow still watching over them, arranging miracles. But he was a practical man, an accountant who dealt in numbers and facts. Dead people didn't send angels. Rich women didn't transform janitors' lives because of childhood memories. Yet Victoria Hayes had done exactly that. And Marcus couldn't quite explain it with logic alone. Over the next few days, Marcus threw himself into preparation for his new position. Victoria's assistant had sent him files to review, accounts to familiarize himself with, systems to learn. Marcus stayed up late after Emma went to bed, reacquainting himself with the professional world he'd left behind. It felt good. It felt like reclaiming a piece of himself he'd thought was lost. Emma seemed to transform too. With regular meals, her color improved. The dark circles under her eyes faded. She laughed more, played more, seemed lighter somehow. Marcus realized how much stress she'd been carrying, how much he'd been aware of their struggles despite his attempts to shield her. On Friday evening, Marcus's phone rang. Victoria Hayes. "Mr. Parker," her crisp voice came through. "I hope you're settling in well. I'm calling to invite you and Emma to dinner tomorrow night. There are some people I'd like you to meet before you start on Monday, And I thought Emma might enjoy the restaurant. They have excellent chicken fingers." Marcus hesitated. "Miss Hayes, you've already done so much. We don't want to impose." "You're not imposing. I'm inviting. Please. I promise it won't be a formal affair. Just dinner and conversation." There was something in her voice, a hint of loneliness perhaps, that made Marcus agree. After he hung up, he wondered if he'd imagined it. Victoria Hayes was a billionaire CEO. She probably had a calendar full of social obligations. But then he remembered her face when she'd knelt down to give Emma the bread, the genuine emotion there, the recognition of shared pain. Maybe Victoria Hayes was lonely in her towers of glass and steel. Maybe helping them was helping her too. Saturday evening, Marcus dressed Emma in her best dress, the purple one Rachel had bought her for Easter. He wore his only suit, carefully pressed. They took an Uber to the restaurant, an upscale Italian place in River North. Victoria was already there, seated at a quiet corner table. She wore jeans and a soft sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. Marcus had never seen her look so casual, so young. She smiled when she saw them, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "Emma, Mr. Parker, thank you for coming." Emma ran to Victoria and hugged her legs impulsively. Victoria looked startled for a moment, then her face softened and she hugged the child back. "I made you a picture," Emma announced, pulling a folded piece of paper from her pocket. "It's you and me and Daddy. We're all happy." Victoria unfolded the drawing carefully. It was done in crayon, showing 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. Above them, a 4th figure with angel wings watched from a cloud. "That's my mommy," Emma explained, pointing to the angel. "She's watching us. She's happy we're not sad anymore." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked them away, but Marcus saw. He saw the CEO's perfect composure crack just for a moment, revealing something raw underneath. "It's beautiful, Emma," Victoria said, her voice thick. "I'll keep it forever. Thank you." They ordered dinner. Emma declared the chicken fingers, the best she'd ever had. Marcus found himself relaxing, the conversation flowing naturally. Victoria asked about Emma's kindergarten class, about her favorite books, about what she wanted to be when she grew up. "A doctor," Emma said seriously, "like the ones who tried to help my mommy. But I'll be better. I'll make everyone not sick." The innocence of it, the impossible hope, made Marcus's heart ache. Victoria reached across the table and squeezed Emma's hand. "I think you'll be an amazing doctor, Emma." After dinner, Victoria ordered tiramisu for the table. While Emma was distracted by the dessert, Victoria turned to Marcus. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly, "about why I'm really helping you." Marcus set down his fork. "Okay." Victoria took a breath. "When I was 7 years old, my father left, just walked out one day and never came back. My mother worked constantly, but we were always struggling. I remember being hungry. I remember my mother crying because she had to choose between electricity and groceries. I remember feeling invisible, like we didn't matter to anyone." She paused, her fingers tracing patterns on the tablecloth. "Then Mr. Chen, the restaurant owner, hired my mother. He saw her, really saw her, not as a desperate woman, but as someone with potential. He taught her everything about running a business. He became the father figure I'd lost. When he died of a heart attack when I was 17, he left the restaurant to my mother in his will, said she'd earned it." "That's an incredible story," Marcus said softly. "My mother sold it and used the money to send me to business school. I built my empire from that foundation, from one man's kindness." Victoria met his eyes. "But I never got to thank him properly. He died before I could show him what his gift had meant. When I saw you and Emma, when I heard Emma crying from hunger, it was like the universe was giving me a second chance, a chance to be for you what Mr. Chen was for my mother." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "You're a good person, Victoria Hayes." "I'm a person trying to be good," Victoria corrected. "There's a difference. My empire wasn't built entirely on kindness, Marcus. I've made hard choices, ruthless choices. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't recognize the woman staring back. but helping you and Emma, it reminded me of who I wanted to be, who I should be. Emma chose that moment to reach over with her spoon, offering Victoria a bite of tiramisu. "Here, pretty lady, this is the best part. You have to try it." Victoria accepted the bite, laughing. The sound was surprising, genuine, and unguarded. Marcus realized he was seeing the real Victoria Hayes, not the CEO, but the woman underneath. The woman who remembered being hungry. The woman who still carried Mr. Chen's kindness like a torch. They finished dessert, and Victoria asked if they wanted to take a walk along the river. The October evening was cool, but pleasant. Emma skipped ahead, chasing fallen leaves, while Marcus and Victoria walked slower behind her. "Can I ask you something personal?" Marcus said. "Of course. Do you have family? Someone you go home to?" Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "No. My mother died 2 years ago. Heart attack, quick and painless, thank God. She was all I had. I have friends, colleagues, people I do business with. But family? No. It's just me." The loneliness in her voice was profound. Marcus understood it intimately. He and Victoria came from different worlds, but grief and isolation were universal languages. "You have us now," Marcus said impulsively. "If you want. I mean, you're helping us, but maybe we can help you too. Emma adores you already, and I could use a friend who understands." Victoria stopped walking. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I'd like that, very much." Emma ran back to them, breathless and happy. "Can we come back here, please? This is the best day ever." "We can come back any time you want," Victoria promised. As they walked back to the restaurant where Victoria's car was parked, Marcus felt something shift inside him. For the first time since Rachel's death, he felt like maybe, possibly they would be okay. More than okay. They might even be happy again. But happiness, he would learn, was complicated. And the past had a way of resurfacing when you least expected it. Victoria Hayes had secrets she didn't even know she was keeping. Emma Parker had mysteries in her DNA waiting to be discovered. And Marcus was about to learn that sometimes the universe didn't just bring people together randomly. Sometimes it was correcting a mistake 5 years old. A mistake that would change everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other. A truth that was already stirring in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. For now, though, they were 3 people who'd found each other in the darkness. 3 people who'd chosen kindness over indifference. 3 people who were becoming something that looked remarkably like a family. And sometimes, for a little while, that was enough. Marcus's first day at Hayes Global Corporation was everything he'd hoped for, and nothing he'd expected. The corporate office occupied 3 floors of a downtown skyscraper, all glass and steel, and the quiet hum of serious money being managed. His office had a view of Lake Michigan and a desk larger than his entire previous living room. Jennifer Kim, the retiring accountant he was replacing, spent the morning walking him through the systems. She was a cheerful woman in her 60s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "You're the janitor," she said bluntly after her second cup of coffee. Marcus stiffened. "I was, now I know who you are now," Jennifer interrupted. "I also know Victoria Hayes doesn't make impulsive decisions. So either you're brilliant, or there's more to this story than anyone's telling me." "Maybe both," Marcus said carefully. Jennifer laughed. "I like you. Fair warning, this company runs on Victoria's instincts and my spreadsheets. Now that I'm retiring, you're inheriting my spreadsheets and the responsibility to keep this place from financial chaos. Think you can handle it?" Marcus pulled up the main account file. Within 10 minutes, he'd spotted 3 inefficiencies and a potential tax advantage they'd been missing. Jennifer watched him work, nodding slowly. "Okay," she said. "You're brilliant. Good. We're going to get along fine." By the end of the week, Marcus had reorganized their quarterly reporting system and identified $47,000 in unnecessary expenses. Victoria called him into her office Friday afternoon, her expression unreadable. "You're making Jennifer look bad," she said. Marcus's heart sank. "I didn't mean to." Victoria's face broke into a smile. "I'm joking, Marcus," She's thrilled. She said you're the best replacement she could have imagined. I told her I had a good feeling about you. Relief flooded through him. Thank you. For the job, for the chance, for everything. Thank you for being exactly who I thought you were, Victoria countered. She hesitated, then added, Emma's birthday is next month, isn't it? November 15th? Marcus blinked. How did you know? I do research on my employees, especially the ones with 5-year-olds who are about to turn 6. Victoria's smile softened. I'd like to throw her a party, here at the penthouse event space in the main hotel. Nothing too extravagant, just something special for a little girl who deserves it. Victoria, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Please, Marcus, let me do this. He couldn't say no, not to the genuine hope in her eyes. Not when he knew Emma would be ecstatic. The loneliness he'd glimpsed in Victoria that first night was still there, lurking beneath her professional exterior. She needed this as much as Emma did. Okay, Marcus agreed, but let Emma help plan it. She'll want to feel involved. Perfect. Bring her by this weekend and we'll talk about it together. Over the next month, something unexpected happened. The three of them became inseparable. Victoria started coming to dinner at Marcus's apartment twice a week. She taught Emma how to make chocolate chip cookies. She attended Emma's kindergarten play, sitting next to Marcus in the audience, cheering louder than anyone when Emma appeared on stage as a flower. Emma started calling her Aunt Vicky. The first time it happened, Victoria froze. They were at the park, watching Emma on the swings. Aunt Vicky, watch me. Watch how high I can go. Marcus saw Victoria's face pale, saw her hand tremble as she waved back. Later, when Emma was distracted by the slide, Victoria turned to him with tears in her eyes. I've never been anyone's aunt, she whispered. I've never been anyone's anything. You're Emma's Aunt Vicky, Marcus said gently, and you're my friend. You're not alone anymore, Victoria. None of us are. She cried then, and Marcus held her while she shook with silent sobs. He realized that Victoria Hayes, for all her billions and success, was just as broken as he was, just as desperate for connection, just as terrified of losing it. Emma's birthday party was magical. Victoria had transformed the hotel's penthouse event space into a fairy tale kingdom, complete with a castle backdrop, a princess entertainer, and more pink decorations than Marcus thought physically possible. 20 children from Emma's kindergarten class attended, along with their parents, all of whom looked slightly overwhelmed by the luxury. Emma wore a princess dress Victoria had bought her, complete with a tiara. She glowed with happiness, laughing and playing and being exactly what she should be, a normal, joyful 6-year-old. During the cake ceremony, Emma made Marcus and Victoria stand together while everyone sang. As she blew out the candles, Marcus heard her whisper her wish. I wish Mommy could see how happy we are, and I wish Aunt Vicky could stay with us forever. Marcus's throat closed up. Victoria's hand found his and squeezed tight. After the party, after the children had left and Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, surrounded by presents, Victoria and Marcus cleaned up together in comfortable silence. Thank you, Marcus said finally, for all of this, for being here, for caring about her. I love her, Victoria said simply. I didn't expect to, but I do. She's special, Marcus. There's something about her that's just extraordinary. Marcus nodded. He'd always known Emma was special, but lately he'd noticed things that surprised even him. The way she could read books meant for children twice her age. The way she understood concepts that should be beyond her. Her kindergarten teacher had pulled him aside last week, suggesting testing for gifted programs. Rachel used to say Emma was an old soul, Marcus said, that she'd been here before and remembered more than she should. Victoria smiled. Rachel sounds like she was a wise woman. She was everything. They were quiet for a moment, then Victoria said, Can I tell you something strange? Of course. Sometimes when I look at Emma, I feel like I've known her forever, like we're connected somehow beyond just meeting that night. Does that sound crazy? Marcus considered. No, I feel it too, like the three of us were meant to find each other. Victoria laughed softly. I'm not usually this mystical. I'm a businesswoman. I deal in facts and numbers. But this, us, it feels like more than coincidence." "Maybe it is," Marcus said. "Maybe some things are meant to be." What neither of them knew was that those words were more prophetic than they could imagine. That the connection Victoria felt wasn't mystical at all, but biological. That the universe hadn't randomly brought them together, but had been trying to reunite them for 6 years. In a hospital across town, a file sat in archives, waiting to be discovered. A file from 6 years ago, from when Victoria Hayes had been 21 years old and terrified. A file documenting a private, anonymous donation at a fertility clinic. A donation made during Victoria's first year building her business empire, when she desperately needed money and had sold the one thing she could, her eggs. The clinic had promised anonymity. They'd promised her DNA would be used to help families who couldn't conceive naturally. They'd paid her $10,000, money she'd used to prevent her first hotel from foreclosing. Victoria had never thought about it again, had blocked it from her memory as something she'd had to do to survive, had never considered that somewhere out there her biological child might exist. But Emma Parker wasn't just any 6-year-old. Emma Parker was the result of that donation, carried and born by Rachel Parker, who'd struggled with fertility for 3 years before turning to donor eggs. Rachel, who'd chosen Victoria's profile because of her intelligence, her health, her determination documented in the questionnaire. Rachel had never told Marcus about the donor egg, had been ashamed, worried he'd love Emma less if he knew. She'd planned to tell him someday, had written it in a letter kept in her jewelry box. But cancer had come too fast, and in the chaos of treatment and dying, the letter had been forgotten. Now it sat in a box in Marcus's closet, unopened, waiting. The truth was there, sleeping, but not for much longer, because Emma had gotten sick last week with a bad cold, and the pediatrician had run some routine blood work. And that blood work had been flagged for a genetic research study Emma's kindergarten had enrolled in with parental permission, a study tracking inherited traits in young children. The results would come in 3 weeks, results that would show Emma Parker's genetic markers, results that, when cross-referenced with the database, would match to another participant in a different health study, Victoria Hayes, who'd done an executive health screening last year that included genetic testing. The universe was setting the stage for a revelation that would shatter and rebuild their world. But for now, they were blissfully unaware. For now, Victoria stayed late into the evening, helping Marcus carry a sleeping Emma to her bedroom. They tucked her in together, each taking one side of the bed, moving in synchronized harmony, as if they'd done this 1,000 times before. "She's lucky to have you," Victoria whispered, brushing Emma's hair from her face. "We're lucky to have you," Marcus countered. Victoria looked at him across Emma's sleeping form, and something passed between them. Something more than friendship, but less defined than romance. Understanding, perhaps, recognition of shared trauma and shared healing. The beginning of something neither of them had words for yet. "I should go," Victoria said, but she didn't move. "Or you could stay," Marcus offered. "It's late. The guest room is made up. I make excellent pancakes in the morning, and Emma would love waking up to find you here." Victoria hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Okay, yes, I'd like that." As they walked to the guest room, Marcus felt Rachel's presence somehow, not haunting but approving, as if she'd orchestrated this somehow, bringing Victoria into their lives at exactly the moment they needed her most. If Rachel's spirit could see them now, she'd be smiling, because Rachel had always believed in fate, had always believed that love found a way, even across impossible circumstances, had always believed that Emma was meant for extraordinary things. Rachel had known secrets about Emma that she'd taken to her grave, secrets about the donor egg, yes, but also secrets about why she'd chosen that specific donor. Because Rachel had done something the clinic hadn't known about. She'd researched Victoria Hayes before selecting her profile, had followed Victoria's early career, her meteoric rise in the business world, had chosen her not just for genetics, but for spirit. Rachel had wanted her daughter to have the DNA of a survivor, of a woman who'd overcome poverty and loss to build an empire. She'd wanted Emma to inherit that strength, that determination, that refusal to let circumstances define destiny. And she'd gotten her wish. Emma was all of that, and more. As Marcus lay in bed that night, knowing Victoria was just down the hall, knowing Emma slept peacefully in her princess bed, he felt something he hadn't felt since Rachel's diagnosis. Hope, real, sustainable hope for the future. The truth was coming, the revelation that would upend everything. But it would also complete them in ways none of them could yet understand. Because sometimes family wasn't about blood or biology or conventional definitions. Sometimes family was about three broken people finding each other in the darkness and choosing every single day to be each other's light. And sometimes, miraculously, those broken people discovered they were already connected by invisible threads that had been there all along, waiting to be revealed. The story was about to take a turn none of them could anticipate. But for tonight, they were simply Marcus, Victoria, and Emma, three people learning how to be happy again. And that, for now, was more than enough. 3 weeks after Emma's birthday party, Marcus received a call that would change everything. Dr. Sarah Chen from Children's Memorial Hospital asked him to come in to discuss Emma's genetic screening results from the kindergarten research study. "Is something wrong?" Marcus asked, his heart racing. "Is Emma sick?" "No, nothing like that," Dr. Chen assured him. "Emma is perfectly healthy, but there's something unusual in her results that we need to discuss in person. Can you come in tomorrow?" Marcus agreed, his mind spinning with possibilities. That night he couldn't sleep. He kept checking on Emma, watching her breathe peacefully, trying to imagine what unusual might mean. Victoria came over for dinner as usual. Marcus told her about the call, and she immediately offered to come with him to the appointment. "You shouldn't face this alone," she said firmly. The next morning they sat in Dr. Chen's office while Emma played in the waiting room with a nurse. The doctor pulled up files on her computer, her expression carefully neutral. "Mr. Parker, when did your wife undergo fertility treatment?" Dr. Chen asked. Marcus froze. "What? She didn't. Emma was conceived naturally." Dr. Chen's eyebrows rose. "Are you certain? Because Emma's genetic markers show she was conceived through donor egg IVF. The maternal DNA doesn't match what we'd expect from a natural conception with your genetic profile." The room seemed to tilt. Marcus gripped the armrests of his chair. "That's impossible. Rachel never mentioned. We never had fertility issues." But even as he said it, memories surfaced. Rachel's secretiveness about doctor's appointments early in their marriage, her reluctance to discuss their struggles to conceive with family, the way she'd cried with joy when she found out she was pregnant, as if she'd given up hope. "There's more," Dr. Chen continued gently. "Our database cross-referenced Emma's genetic markers with other participants in various health studies. We found a match, a maternal match." Victoria leaned forward. "What does that mean?" "It means we've identified Emma's biological mother, the egg donor." Dr. Chen turned her screen toward them. "The match is 99.9% certain. Emma's biological mother is—" She stopped, her face going pale as she read the name on the screen. "Victoria Hayes," she whispered. The silence in the room was deafening. Marcus turned to look at Victoria, whose face had gone completely white. Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. "That's impossible," Victoria finally managed. "I've never had a child. I've never been pregnant." "But have you ever donated eggs?" Dr. Chen asked softly. Victoria's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes went wide with horror and recognition. Oh my God, no. I was 21. I needed money. The clinic promised anonymity. They said I'd never know." Marcus couldn't breathe. Emma, his Emma, the child he'd raised from birth, the daughter he loved more than life itself. She was biologically Victoria's daughter. Victoria stood abruptly, knocking her chair backward. "I need air. I can't. I need." She ran from the office. Marcus heard her footsteps echoing down the hallway, heard the stairwell door slam. Dr. Chen looked at Marcus with sympathy. "I'm sorry. This is obviously a shock. Would you like some time?" "Did Rachel know?" Marcus asked, his voice hollow. "Did my wife know Emma wasn't biologically hers?" "I can't answer that. But if she used a donor egg, then yes, she would have known." Marcus felt betrayed and confused, but also strangely numb. Rachel had kept this secret for 6 years, had let him believe Emma was entirely theirs. Why? What else hadn't she told him? "There's one more thing," Dr. Chen said hesitantly. "Victoria Hayes is also in our database because she participates in executive health screenings that include genetic testing. If you'd like, we can do a full family medical history now that we know Emma's complete genetic background. It might be helpful for her future health care." Marcus nodded mechanically. "Yes, do whatever you need to do." He found Victoria in the parking lot, sitting on a curb with her head in her hands. He sat down next to her, not touching, just present. "I'm sorry," Victoria whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "I know you didn't. That's why I felt connected to her, why I couldn't walk away that night in the hotel. Some part of me recognized her." Victoria's voice broke. "She's mine. Emma is mine. And I gave her away before she even existed." "You didn't give her away," Marcus said firmly. "You made a choice to help people who wanted children. Rachel chose you because she wanted Emma to have the best possible genetics. You gave us a gift, Victoria. The greatest gift. But I abandoned her." "No!" Marcus turned to face her. "You didn't abandon anyone. You made a donation that helped create the most amazing child in the world. And then, when Emma needed someone, you showed up. You've been there for her in every way that matters. Biology doesn't make you a mother, Victoria. Love does. And you love Emma. I see it every day." Victoria sobbed, and Marcus pulled her close. They sat together in the parking lot, two broken people trying to make sense of an impossible truth. After a while, Victoria pulled back. "What do we do now? Do we tell her?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "She's 6 years old." "How do you explain this to a 6-year-old? "We'll figure it out," Victoria said. "Together, because that's what we do now. We're family, really, truly family." Marcus felt something settle in his chest. Terror, yes, confusion, absolutely, but also certainty. Victoria Hayes wasn't just his friend anymore. She was Emma's biological mother. And somehow, impossibly, that felt right. "We need to find out what Rachel knew," Marcus said, "and why she didn't tell me. Where would she have kept that information?" Marcus thought about Rachel's jewelry box, the one he hadn't been able to open since her death, the one that held her rings, her memories, her secrets. "I think I know." That evening, Marcus stood in his bedroom holding Rachel's jewelry box. His hands trembled as he opened the lid. Inside, beneath her wedding ring and the pearl necklace he'd given her on their 5th anniversary, was an envelope with his name written in Rachel's handwriting. Victoria sat on the bed behind him, Emma playing in her room down the hall. Marcus pulled out the letter and began to read aloud. "My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you this in person, but I was afraid. Afraid you'd love Emma less if you knew the truth. Afraid you'd see her differently. Afraid I'd lose everything that mattered. Emma was conceived through donor egg IVF. After 3 years of trying naturally, after every treatment failed, I was desperate. I couldn't give you a child, and it was killing me. So I made a choice. I found a donor, a woman whose profile showed everything I admired. Intelligence, strength, survival against impossible odds. Her name was listed as Anonymous Donor 2847, but I did something I wasn't supposed to do. I researched. I found out who she was. Victoria Hayes, a 21-year-old woman building a business empire from nothing. I chose her because I wanted our daughter to have that warrior spirit, that refusal to quit. I never told you because I was selfish. I wanted you to see Emma as completely ours. And she is, Marcus. Biology doesn't matter. We raised her. We loved her. She's ours in every way that counts, but you deserve to know the truth. Emma deserves to know someday. And if you ever find Victoria Hayes, tell her thank you. Tell her she gave us the most perfect gift in the world. Tell her that her DNA created something extraordinary. I love you. I love Emma. I'm sorry for the secrets. Please forgive me. Forever yours, Rachel. Marcus's hands shook so badly that Victoria had to take the letter from him. Tears streamed down both their faces. She knew, Victoria whispered. She specifically chose me. She researched me. She wanted Emma to have your strength, Marcus said. Your survivor spirit. They sat in silence, processing the weight of Rachel's confession. Finally, Victoria spoke. Marcus, I need to tell you something else, something I haven't told anyone. He looked at her, waiting. I donated my eggs because I was about to lose everything. My first hotel was being foreclosed. I had investors threatening to sue me. I was desperate for money. The clinic paid me $10,000. That money saved my business. It made everything I have now possible. Victoria's voice cracked. I built my empire on selling the potential for my children, and I never thought about it again. I blocked it out, told myself it didn't matter. But it did matter, Marcus said softly. It brought Emma into the world. And now she's here, and she's perfect, and I'm her biological mother, and I don't know what to do with that, Victoria cried. I don't know how to be a mother. I don't know if I have any right to claim that title. Marcus took her hands. You've been her mother for months already, Victoria. You just didn't know it. Nothing has to change, except that now we understand why the connection was so strong, why you couldn't walk away, why this felt like destiny. Do we tell her? Eventually, but not yet. She's 6 years old. We tell her when she's ready to understand. For now, we just keep being what we've been, her daddy and her Aunt Vicky. Victoria nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay, but Marcus, there's something else we need to talk about. Legal things, custody, rights. I don't want to disrupt Emma's life, but I am her biological mother. The courts might... Stop, Marcus interrupted. We're not doing this through courts. We're not fighting over Emma like she's property. We're family. We figure this out together as family. How? Marcus took a deep breath. Move in with us, not as a roommate, as Emma's other parent. We co-parent her. Officially, we go to a lawyer and draw up papers that give you parental rights but keep her life stable. We raise her together. Victoria stared at him. You'd do that? You'd share custody just like that? You're her mother, Victoria, biologically and emotionally, and you love her. I see it every day. Emma needs you in her life permanently, not as a visitor but as family. This apartment is big enough. We're already practically living together anyway. We make it official. What about you and me? Victoria asked quietly. What are we in this scenario? Marcus considered. He cared about Victoria deeply. Loved her even, though not in the romantic sense he'd loved Rachel. This was something different, something born from shared trauma and mutual respect, and the understanding that only people who've truly suffered can have for each other. We're partners, he said finally. We're co-parents. We're family. Maybe someday we'll be more, maybe we won't. But that doesn't matter right now. What matters is Emma having two parents who love her unconditionally. Victoria threw her arms around him, sobbing into his shoulder. Thank you for not hating me. Thank you for not pushing me away. I could never hate you, Marcus murmured. You saved us, and now I understand it wasn't random kindness. It was a mother's instinct recognizing her child. They held each other while Emma's laughter drifted from her bedroom, oblivious to the seismic shift happening in the next room. Oblivious to the fact that her family had just reorganized itself in the most unexpected way. Later that night, Victoria officially moved her things into the guest room. Emma was ecstatic that Aunt Vicky was staying permanently. They didn't tell her why yet. That conversation would come later when she was older. For now, they were simply a family of three: Marcus, Victoria, and Emma. A single father, a billionaire CEO, and the extraordinary 6-year-old who had brought them together. But the universe wasn't done with them yet, because there was one more secret waiting to be discovered. One more piece of the puzzle that would complete their story in a way none of them could anticipate. And it was hiding in Emma's DNA, waiting to be found. 2 months after Victoria moved in, Dr. Chen called again. This time, her voice carried excitement rather than trepidation. "Mr. Parker, Ms. Hayes, I need you both to come in. We've discovered something extraordinary in Emma's genetic profile, something that explains a lot about her exceptional abilities." They sat in Dr. Chen's office the next day, holding hands nervously. Emma was at school, unaware of this appointment. Dr. Chen pulled up colorful charts on her screen. "When we did Emma's full genetic workup, we found something remarkable. She has a genetic mutation inherited from Victoria that's extremely rare. It's associated with enhanced cognitive function, pattern recognition, and memory. Only about 1 in 50,000 people have it." Victoria's eyes widened. "What does that mean?" "It means Emma is genuinely gifted. Not just smart, but neurologically exceptional. Her brain processes information differently than most people. She'll likely test at genius levels as she gets older. The mutation also explains Victoria's own business success. Your ability to see patterns, make connections, predict market movements. It's not just learned skill, it's partly genetic." Marcus thought about Emma's reading ability, her mathematical intuition, her emotional intelligence that seemed beyond her years. Is she healthy? Will this cause problems? She's perfectly healthy. If anything, this mutation is advantageous, but she'll need specialized education, gifted programs, teachers who understand how her mind works. Dr. Chen smiled. "Emma Parker is going to do extraordinary things in her life. With both of you supporting her, I have no doubt she'll change the world." After the appointment, Marcus and Victoria walked through the park near Emma's school, waiting for dismissal time. "I always knew she was special," Marcus said. "Rachel used to say Emma was meant for something important." "Rachel was right," Victoria replied, "about everything. She chose my DNA knowing what it might give Emma. She gave our daughter every possible advantage." "Our daughter," Marcus repeated softly. "That still sounds surreal. Good surreal or bad surreal?" "Good. Definitely good." Marcus stopped walking and turned to face Victoria. "I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about this for weeks, trying to figure out how I feel." Victoria's breath caught. "Okay, I love you," Marcus said simply. "Not the way I loved Rachel. That was first love, young love, built over years. This is different. This is two broken people becoming whole together. This is partnership and respect and shared purpose. I love you, Victoria Hayes, and I think I want to build a life with you. A real life, not just co-parenting, but actual partnership." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too. I didn't know how to say it, didn't know if I had the right to feel it after everything that's happened." "You have every right," Marcus assured her. "We have every right to be happy. Rachel would want that. She'd want Emma to have two parents who love each other." They kissed then, gentle and tentative, sealing a promise born from impossible circumstances. When they pulled apart, Victoria was smiling through her tears. "So what now?" she asked. "Now we pick up our daughter from school. We take her for ice cream. We tell her gently and carefully that Aunt Vicky is also her birth mother. We answer her questions. We let her process it at her own pace. And then we keep being the family we've become." Emma took the news better than they expected. She listened carefully, asked thoughtful questions, and then said something that made both adults cry. "So Mommy Rachel grew me in her tummy using Aunt Vicky's egg and Daddy's baby seed. So I have 3 parents. That makes me extra lucky. Most kids only have 2. The simplicity of childhood made everything complicated seem manageable." Emma didn't care about the technical details. She cared that she was loved, and she was loved abundantly. 6 months later, Victoria and Marcus got married in a small ceremony. Emma was the flower girl, wearing a dress that had belonged to Rachel, altered to fit her growing frame. They felt Rachel's presence throughout the ceremony, blessing this union, happy that her daughter had 2 parents who would love her unconditionally. Victoria adopted Emma officially, giving her daughter her last name as a middle name, Emma Victoria Parker Hayes. The hyphenated name represented their blended family perfectly. Marcus continued working as CFO of Hayes Global Corporation, eventually becoming Victoria's partner in business as well as life. Together, they expanded the company, always with an eye toward helping others the way they'd been helped. They started a foundation providing financial assistance to single parents facing medical crises. They called it the Rachel Parker Foundation, honoring the woman whose choices had brought them all together. Every year, they helped hundreds of families avoid the desperation Marcus had felt when Emma was hungry. Emma flourished. She attended a specialized school for gifted children, where her exceptional abilities were nurtured rather than suppressed. She became interested in medicine, just as she'd said she would at 6 years old. She wanted to cure diseases, to help people the way doctors had tried to help Rachel. On Emma's 10th birthday, they visited Rachel's grave together, all three of them. Emma placed flowers on the headstone and spoke to the mother who had carried her. "Thank you for choosing Aunt Vicky's egg, Mommy Rachel. Thank you for making me exactly who I am. Thank you for bringing us all together. I'm so lucky I got to have you as my mommy, and now I have Victoria too. I have the best family in the whole world." Victoria and Marcus stood on either side of Emma, holding her hands, forming a chain of connection that had started with tragedy and transformation and had become something beautiful. That evening, Marcus found Victoria standing at the window of their bedroom, looking out at the Chicago skyline. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her waist. "About that night in the hotel," Victoria said softly. "About seeing Emma hungry and not being able to walk away. About how my instincts told me something I couldn't possibly have known consciously, that she was mine, that she needed me, that we needed each other." "Destiny," Marcus murmured. "I never believed in destiny before," Victoria admitted. "I believed in hard work and calculation and strategic planning, but how else do you explain all of this? The timing, the connection, the way everything fell into place exactly when it needed to?" "Maybe some things are meant to be," Marcus said. "Maybe Rachel knew more than we think. Maybe she's still orchestrating things from wherever she is." "I like that idea," Victoria smiled. "Rachel as our guardian angel, making sure her daughter was taken care of." "Our daughter," Marcus corrected gently. "You earned that title, Victoria. Every single day you earn it." Victoria turned in his arms, looking up at him. "Do you ever regret it? The way everything happened, the secrets that came out?" "Never," Marcus said firmly. "Because we're here now. We're happy. Emma is thriving. We have something most people search their whole lives for, a family built on love and respect and genuine connection. How could I regret that?" They kissed, their love story so different from conventional romance, but no less powerful. They had been brought together by hunger and desperation, by a piece of bread offered with kindness, by a child who carried both their DNA without anyone knowing, and they had chosen, every day since, to build something extraordinary from those broken pieces. Emma's voice called from her bedroom, "Dad! Victoria! Come see what I built with my robotics kit." They walked hand in hand to their daughter's room, ready to marvel at whatever genius creation she'd invented, ready to support her incredible journey toward whatever future awaited her. The story that had started with tears on a hotel floor had become something neither Marcus nor Victoria could have imagined. It had become proof that kindness mattered. That instinct recognized what logic couldn't. That family was defined not by biology alone, but by choice, by commitment, by showing up every single day with love. It had become proof that sometimes, impossibly, broken people found each other in the darkness and built something whole together. And it had become proof that one small act of compassion, offering bread to a hungry child, could change absolutely everything.